Purdue Pharma, the maker of OxyContin, the powerful prescription painkiller that experts say helped launch an opioid epidemic, will plead guilty to 3 federal criminal charges as part of a settlement of more than $8 billion. U.S. Deputy Attorney General Jeff Rosen.
The global settlement announced today involves the company pleading guilty to 3 felony counts for defrauding the United States and violating the anti-kickback statute from 2009 to 2017.
Analysis now from Dr. Dean Finelli, attorney with Sackler Shaw in Washington. He's got more than 20 years of experience with pharmaceutical litigation. Dean, how do you see it?
When you look at Purdue Pharma, it's really one of the most egregious cases that I've ever seen when it comes to the marketing tactics that they used and the results, these results that were just so atrocious to so many Americans.
All right, so this was a settlement with the federal government. What about these? There's like thousands of lawsuits filed by state and local governments too, right?
Yeah, there's still a lot of settled cases out there. I mean, this may tend to make a lot of those cases disappear, so to speak. But, you know, the one nice thing here is the settlement will not preclude future criminal prosecution for these defendants. So although this is at the federal level and this is to the company, the family itself can still face potential criminal liability.
All right, so there are other companies caught up in some of this to a certain extent, right? Johnson & Johnson, what happens to those guys?
Yeah, there are some other companies that have paid fines for this. So, I mean, not as egregious as what happened with Purdue Pharma, but you're right, several other companies have paid fines. They settled that, so those cases, I believe a lot of those have now settled. But nonetheless, you know, this Purdue Pharma, these were the drivers, and this was the company that, you know, basically started this whole crisis.
So for the families here, they can expect a check? Is that ultimately what would happen?
Well, you know, unfortunately, probably not. A lot of families, you know, out of this money probably aren't going to see much money. Some of this $8 billion, you know, may be distributed to states. Like I said, about $2 billion they believe may be recouped and divided out amongst states. But, you know, as far as the families that have been affected by this, you know, and that's one of the complaints that these states' attorney general and Congress have made, that, you know, there's a lot of people out there that have been injured. And, you know, and part of when you think about what's happening is, you know, by settling the case, you're letting these people off free. You know, a lot of what people want to see is they want to see a trial. They want this information to go out of there. The Sackler family had made statements in the past saying, blaming the victims, saying these are criminals, these are drug addicts, it's not our fault. So a lot of, you know, what goes into this is not only, you know, compensating the families, but also just having the families hear these people have their day in court and hear them ultimately admit guilt or be found guilty, because, you know, they've blamed the victims in the past, which is equally terrible.
So ultimately, what now, Dean, for Purdue Pharma? They're in bankruptcy. Do they eventually emerge and become, I don't know, an operable drug company again?
Yeah, no, so Purdue Pharma won't be around. I mean, another part of the proposal is, you know, there's talk that the government would take over and form a government trust. And that's another thing where a lot of these states' attorney generals are completely opposed to, as in my opinion, I'm opposed to it as well. You don't want the government in the opioid business whatsoever. So Purdue Pharma is pretty much done, but there's this other area that the government may come in and form a trust, so to speak.
And so does that does the family benefit in some way, the Sackler family, from that?
No, the Sackler family would not benefit in that regard. And, you know, they you know, my opinion, they need their reckoning, and hopefully, you know, these, like I said, this affects the company, and there could still be criminal charges against the family. And when you think about it, like I said, a lot of the money that they siphoned off and put on offshore accounts, you know, that's another reason why you'd want to see a trial, just to, you know, have that out in the public, just to see the activities that these people did.
So this is not over then for a long time?
No, it's not over. And, you know, there's another angle here that you know, I've heard some rumors that this is the Trump administration looking for a win, saying that they, you know, handled this opioid crisis. That's why we're hearing this right before the election. You know, I hope that's not the case. But again, that's another, you know, another wrinkle in this bizarre story.
All right. Thanks, Dean. Dr. Dean Finelli, attorney with Sackler Shaw in Washington, D.C.